host today on Tea Talk. We have a special guest today, Byron Williams, who's a syndicated columnist for the Huffington Post. He also has a show right here at Winston-Salem State's campus at WSNC. Mr. Williams, can you tell me a little bit about your show at WSNC?
Yes, it's called the Public Morality, and it's an NPR-affiliated show. And the whole purpose of the show is too often in our public discourse, you get this left, right, yes, no, this is right, this is wrong type of answer. And that really doesn't do anything to change the discourse.
Right.
I mean, usually the answers are far more complicated than right, wrong. And so we spend an hour going beneath the surface and looking at what makes a problem so difficult. Why, go beyond just the talking points, the liberal conservative talking points, and just try. And we're not trying to give an answer so much as we want people to leave thinking. So we probably give you more questions than you get answers.
Okay, so it's more of a debate type
No, not a debate. It's not a debate. It's just like the format is such that I will be talking with some of the leading thinkers. Like, for example, I just recently interviewed Tavis Smiley. I did one with Cornel West. I did a piece with professors at Wake Forest. We interviewed some people here. We're going to be doing a quarterly show, what I'm really excited about, that'll be in the student union, and it'll be live, and so whatever, and we'll have those topics, so we'll have some student participation as well.
Okay, so coming from the Huffington Post and to Winston-Salem, why Winston-Salem State University?
Well, that's a good question. I think first of all, I'm still at the Huffington Post. And we moved here, my wife and I moved here about a year ago. And we were committed to going to Winston. And the reason why, you have to ask, my wife can confirm this, is simply because it was either Winston or Greensboro. And Greensboro didn't have a Trader Joe's, and Winston-Salem did.
I love Trader Joe's.
So my wife loves Trader Joe's, and that's what she said. I don't want to live anywhere that I'm going to sit there have Trader Joe's. We're going to Winston. That's how we got here.
That's a big decision.
That's a big decision.
She's a very smart lady.
She is indeed.
Okay.
But as for this show, it worked out in that I'd always wanted to do a show.
Right.
To expand on my writing, and I've done a lot of media appearances, but I met with Dean Walker. We were talking about some other stuff, and it sort of organically happened. Would you be interested in doing a show? And I was like, yeah. And so that just he got the ball rolling and introduced me to Elvin, and that's how I got Elvin Jenkins, the general manager. That's how I got rolling.
Okay, so it's kind of like a passion for you.
Yeah. I mean, the whole process is a passion. I mean, the writing is really my passion. Writing and thinking, getting other people to think. That's really probably the epicenter of my passion. Is that it's not just so much for me to write a column and say this is right, this is wrong. I'm more concerned about writing something and then you thinking about it. You may not like it. You may not like what I have to say, but I would rather you think about it than just agree with me.
All right, so you like to be heard. It might not be what you want to hear, but as long as you're...
Yeah, and for 15 years I've been blessed enough to create a format so that I am heard.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about your column at the Huffington Post?
It's actually in my columns. I mean, Huffington Post is probably where it's read the most, since that's the largest site. Mm-hmm. But it's in my column is in about 15, 20 papers across the country, including right here locally, the Winston-Salem Journal. And the column is the same format. Did it really get you to think? I take on a number of issues socially, politically, and really try to push and prod, just like with the radio show, beyond the surface. It's too easy to just say, this is right, this is wrong. It's called a blog, actually. Mm-hmm. I mean, but you need to do the research. And as the columnist, as the writer, I need to think about it. I just can't just be emotional and just rant what I want to write. I need to sit back and think about it. So as a result, about my column, sometimes I will argue for things that I personally don't agree with. Now, that may not make sense, but I remember once there was a gentleman who was a highway patrolman in Omaha, Nebraska. And he was fired because he was also a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Well, but if you read the Constitution, right, and then you understand the Klan's not an illegal organization.
Right.
You gotta give the brother his job back. And I wrote that piece. Gotta give his job back.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I like the Klan, but you gotta give his job back because part of our system and part of our what we've signed up to in this country is that it's not about what we like, it's what we've committed to. So, and we committed that if you don't have, if it's not a legal organization, you can't fire them. Now we committed to that because it might be an organization that you and I are part of that we might get fired from, and we both think it's okay, so we want to avoid that slippery slope. So my point to that story is sometimes I will argue for things that I may be personally against.
That you don't even agree with.
Right.
I understand.
I'm not. You can assume I'm not with the Klan. You can assume that I don't like the Klan.
Okay, we'll assume that. For now.
Okay.
We don't know. But I also hear that you want some student involvement in your WSNC show.
Yeah, we definitely want. I actually would like some student involvement. We don't have them yet. Looking for some people now with some interns, some people who might be.
And what would be the qualifications for these?
Well, I'll tell you what it's not first. What it's not is just going to give me a cup of coffee.
Okay.
No, that it's not that. But what I would like in a perfect world is that Monday production meeting, that the interns are part of that, and they're pushing me, Byron, we ought to have a show on this. Then I'm gonna come back with why, and I want to be a part of that. Why is this a show? Why might the student body here be interested in that show? So that's one level, the interns. I want them engaged in that way. The other way is that, as I mentioned earlier, those quarterly shows. Those quarterly shows will be specific for Winston-Salem State. I want to take full advantage, of the student body and have them active participants in the show. And because the show is going national, I think that would be a nice marketing tool for the university.
Definitely,
as well.
yeah. So, do you have specific topics that you talk about at the show?
Sure. Well, the show is governed by there's three sort of overarching topics. One is democracy. I'm always talking about democracy. That's where the name comes, public morality. We got this private morality, we think about church and things like that, but this public morality is the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and how are we engage with that. So we're always talking about democracy. I have a particular interest about, especially now, we spend a lot of time talking about poverty and talking about those on the other side of the divide, because too often low-income brothers and sisters are just sort of these straw people that people just put together their worst assumptions, and then it's more like, well, thank God I'm not like this. And I want us to look at poverty and what it really is. If you listen to some of my conservative brothers and sisters, you might think that folks are just laying up doing nothing, getting a check for $50,000 a year. That's how they present it.
From the outside.
Yeah, but poverty is a real problem in this country. It is the most diverse, the most integrated segment of society. You've got liberals, conservatives, blacks, whites, atheists, Baptists. You got a lot of folk falling into poverty. And it's a growing segment. So that's another one. And the third overarching segment is really focused on the state of North Carolina. Even though it's a national show, we still take issues that happen here. Take some, it happened here, and they have national implications. For example, just finished taping a show today where we talked about Senate Bill 2, which was passed by the North Carolina legislature, so that clerks and magistrates could opt out of doing marriages if they're religious, for religious reasons. And so we looked at that law and said, is this something that other states that may be opposed to, say, same-sex marriage will try to do to get around the fact that same-sex marriage is now legal?
Right.
So we may take issues within North Carolina, but those issues that have national implications, we highlight those. So it's democracy, poverty, and North Carolina. So the three overarching issues. Within that, though, there's a whole hodgepodge of stuff we talk about: gun violence, the prison industrial complex. It's a whole range of things.
So 3 main principles, and then in between.
Right, income inequality. I mean,
Okay.
these are all things we've done shows on these all